Xerxes lifts his face, and there's a smile. What a surprise. What is it, Esther? What brings you here? Do you need something? Anything you need? Honey, do you need the checkbook? You can ask for up to half my kingdom. I guess in the protocol of the Persian, it would have been just too brash to just blurt out what she wanted, so she invites him to dinner. By the way, bring Haman too. Next evening, they're at dinner. More wine, my love, Esther says. The king responds, sure, but now what has prompted this sumptuous spread? What do you need? What may I get for you? Apparently, Esther still had not figured out how to tell the king. All she could think of was to invite him again for another dinner. Haman was also invited. Now, I'm reading between the lines, but I think Haman was particularly pleased with this second dinner thought. I mean, if anyone had a question as to who's who in the kingdom, a second invitation, private invitation to the king with the queen, that's got to be worth something. But just as Haman leaves the palace, guess what? Irony of ironies, who's out there? Mordecai. And Mordecai again does not bow before Haman. And Haman is seething. He gets home. He tells his wife and friends about the second in a row private royal dinner invitation, and then goes on to talk about that little insulting guy, Mordecai. His wife has something to tell him. I guess she had been home during the day hours watching Turner Classic Movies, maybe some of the Westerns, and she said to him, hang him high, 75-foot gallows, not just a couple feet so you can see his feet wiggle, but now, well, let's lift it high. And then what you can do, Mordecai, do that in the morning and then go to dinner in the evening. And Mordecai went to bed thinking that his plot was progressing right along. But wouldn't you know it? In the palace, the king can't sleep. He has insomnia that very night. He's counting Persian sheep, but still cannot sleep. So he asks for some bedtime reading material. He asks for the book of memorable deeds. And in it, he finds a story that he's forgotten. A minor palace functionary, a guy by the name of Mordecai, he once uncovered a plot, an assassination attempt on my life that was hatched by some servants, and I don't think I've ever done anything to reward him. And he thinks about it, no, I haven't. So early the next morning, he comes into the palace, and the king calls the prime minister Haman into his presence, and he says, Haman, what should be done for a man that the king wants to honor? Well, Haman conceitedly figures out that the king must be talking about him, so he suggests, well, a beautiful robe. Get him a beautiful robe. And you know what else, king? Get him a fine horse. And if that's not enough, a royal crown. Oh, heck, king, go all the way and have a parade that goes through the city. And the king responds, good idea. Now, go do it for Mordecai the Jew. Haman does what he's ordered. I don't think he's happy about it. He goes home after the parade, probably the only one, and seethes and stews and figures how he might get even. But suddenly, at the door are the king's attendants, and he's ushered back to the palace for dinner. Now, the scene is a bit of a repeat of the day before. Esther asks during the dinner, more hummus, my husband? Or more wine, my dear king? Now, Esther, the king says, what can I do for you? What can I give you? And this time, Esther has an answer. My life and the life of my people. And then she explained what was happening. Who is he? Who is he? And where is he who would do such a thing? Thunders the king. And she points to Haman. And the king is so furious, the scripture text tells us that he leaves the dinner, walks out in the garden to cool off. He can't believe it. Haman is caught. And Haman has one choice and only one thing that he can do. He's going to beg for mercy. He's alone with the queen. Scripture says he came over and got on the couch by her, close to her, near her. I kind of get the idea that he comes up and he drops to his knees, and maybe he placed his head in her lap, and maybe he put his two hands on her shoulders and said, "Please spare me, spare my life." But wouldn't you know it, that's at the moment that the king comes back in, sees this, thinks that he's groping his wife, and he says, "You know what? Just like a good baseball umpire, you're out of here. You're doing this to my wife in my house?" And then, from the back of the room, a suggestion comes. Let's hang him. And someone else says, and there's a new gallows. And Mordecai, the villain, was executed. Now, those of us that love happy endings, that's not the end of the story. There's more. Who do you suppose becomes the next prime minister? Who else? Irony of ironies. Mordecai, the Jew, becomes the powerful official in the court of Persia. But as every good Bible student has learned, when there is a law recorded of the Medes and the Persians, no one can alter it. No one. So the decree about the Jews being killed on the 13th of Adar is irrevocable. Even the king cannot stop it. But I told you this story is going to end well. Guess what? A second decree is issued by the king, and it allows the Jews to defend themselves. And apparently they did. And that was enough to prevent a Holocaust. And to this day, the Jewish people remember the treachery of Haman, the wisdom of Mordecai, and the bravery of Queen Esther in the annual joyful celebration of Purim. We also remember the treachery of Haman, the wisdom of Mordecai, and the bravery of Esther each and every time we read through this wonderful book. But I told you I have a question. Where is God in all of that? Where is God in the story? Where is God when life crumbles in and life begins to crush us? Where is God? Well, I'm going to answer my question with questions, and I need your help. Church, did the story turn out all right in the end? Did it turn out all right? You're supposed to say, yes, yes, yes. I knew you would say that. Was evil defeated? Yes. Did justice triumph? Yes. So what can we conclude? But that God was there all the time, making things come out right. His fingerprints are on every page of the story. Every page of Hadassah and Esther's story. And God's fingerprints are on every page of your story. But His name may never appear in print. Could it be that our God is more concerned about getting the job done for us than getting the credit? Where is God? Right here, right there, right now.